Shalom. Before I begin, I want to give all praise, all honor, and all glory unto Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Hakwadash. Yahweh being the true name of the Heavenly Father, Bahasham meaning in the name, Yahweh Shai being the true name of the Messiah, who the world ignorantly calls JC, Hakwadash being the Holy Spirit. Double honors to the apostles, elders, and teachers of Great Millstone that teach and rule well, and shalom to the hopeful elect. All right, this video is going to be straight to the point of a speed run, if you will, of 2nd Esdras chapter 13. And Lord willing, this video be edifying to the hopeful elect. Okay, so this is 2nd Esdras 13:1. It says, and it came to pass after 7 days, I dreamed a dream by night. Okay, so we could go to the previous chapter, actually, 2nd Esdras 12 and verse 51. Okay, because Esdras was fasting. He was fasting. Okay, with the he was visited by the angel Uriel. All right, and it says 2nd Esdras 12:51. But I remained still in the field 7 days. And the angel commanded me, and did eat only in those days of the flowers of the field, and had my meat of the herbs. So Esdras fasted for 7 days, and he was in the field, and all he was eating was the herbs of the field. All right, the flowers, stuff like that. All right, and on the 7th day of that fast, 7, that's the spiritual number completion. On the 7th day, this is when he had the vision or the dream. All right, he had the dream, which was really a vision from the Lord. It says, verse 2, 2nd Esdras 13, verse 2, and lo, there arose a wind from the sea, that it moved all the waves thereof. And I beheld, and lo, that man waxed strong with the thousands of heavens, with the thousands of heaven, and when he turned his countenance to look, all the things trembled that were seen under him. Okay, so this is talking about, he's seen Yahweh Shai returning, bro, with the thousands of heavens. That's going into the chariots and the angels. Okay, this is the book of Psalm chapter 68 verse 17. It says, the chariots of the Most High are 20,000, even thousands of angels. The Lord is among them as in Sinai in the holy place. Okay, so the Lord, Esdras seen the Lord coming back with the angels, bro. All right, in the chariots with the world so-called UFOs. Okay, Esdras seen a so-called alien invasion, but it's really that's what they will call it in the world. Okay, but the truth of it is, those are the angels. Those are Yahweh Shai and the angels. Okay, but it says, and when he turned his countenance to look, all the things trembled that were seen under him. Okay, because Yahweh Shai, okay, he's coming back with the angels in the chariots, and that those are flying above everything. So everything that's under those chariots, okay, when they look up, they're going to be afraid. All right, the people, okay, everyone, everything gonna tremble at the presence of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, okay, in his heavenly glory. All right, it says, verse 4, and whensoever the voice went out of his mouth, all they burned that heard his voice, like as the earth faileth when it feeleth the fire. Okay, so it says all they burned that heard his voice, and this is going into the lasers of the chariots, because Yahweh Shai, he's like the commander of the heavenly army, right? So he gives the command, he gives the order of what the chariots to do, what to destroy. All right, go over there and destroy that troop over there. All right, so when Yahweh Shai gave that word, when he gave that command, the chariots obey, okay, and they burn things up. With the laser beams, they shoot their laser beams. Okay, so this is going into how the lasers from the chariots will burn the things that Yahweh Shai commands them to. Okay. It says, verse 5, and after this I beheld, and lo, there was gathered together a multitude of men out of number from the four winds of the heaven to subdue the man that came out of the sea. Okay, and this is going into how Ezra sees the army of these other nations, all right, gathered together to try and fight against Yahushua and the angels. Okay. And it says to subdue the man that came out of the sea. Yahushua isn't going to, he's not coming out of the ocean, the water on the earth. He's coming from the heavenly sea. Okay. The sea, or it's like the waters above, okay, the waters that are in the heavens. All right. And that it explains that in the book of Genesis. Okay. But verse 6, it says, but I beheld, and lo, he had graved himself a great mountain and flew upon it. All right, and it's going into that fathership, the Lord's chariot, bro. All right, Esdras, it's so big, Esdras comparing it to a mountain, a great mountain at that. Okay, so that fathership, okay, that Yahushua gonna be on, bro, that's going to be a great, a humongous ship, okay, a humongous chariot, a humongous so-called UFO. All right. It says, verse 7, but I would have seen the region or place whereout the hill was graven, and I could not. So this ship that Yahushua was in, it was so big that Esdras was trying to look where it ended. Okay, he couldn't find it. Okay, so it was so big it covered the entire sky, bro. All right, Esdras couldn't see where it ended. That's how big the ship was. All right, that's how big the chariot was. Okay. It says, verse 8, and after this I beheld, and lo, all they that were gathered together to subdue him were sore afraid, and yet durst fight. Okay, so all these nations that tried to gather that gathered against the Lord to try and fight against him, okay, they were afraid, but the Lord still put that spirit to try and fight against them on them to fulfill prophecy, bro. Okay, although they're gonna be afraid, these other nations, when they come together, the Lord still gonna put that spirit upon them to band together and try and fight against the Yahushua and his angels. Verse 9, and lo, as he saw the violence of the multitude that came, he neither lifted up his hand, nor held sword, nor any instrument of war. This is talking about Yahushua. But only I saw that he sent out of his mouth as it had been a blast of fire, and out of his lips a flaming breath, and out of his tongue he cast out sparks and tempests. Okay, so this is basically going into how Yahushua didn't need to fight, or Yahushua didn't need to take a stance, because he's the one who gives the command to the army. All right, so Yahushua, he didn't need to lift up his hand, or he didn't need to hold a sword. He didn't need to hold any instrument of war, because he's giving the commandments, or he's giving the orders to the angels. Okay, he's the one who's giving the orders to the angels to burn, all right, to consume and to destroy. All right, it says, but I only saw that he sent out of his mouth. That's that order, that's that command, as it had been a blast of fire. Okay, this is not going into how Yahushua is breathing out fire from his mouth. This is going into how he gives the command from his mouth, so that the laser from the chariots are beam out they blast of fire. It says, and out of his lips a flaming breath. Okay, so this is talking about how from the order of Yahushua, the chariots and the angels, they're going to be destroying stuff, bro. All right, a great destruction is coming when Yahushua returns, bro. Verse 11, and they were all mixed together, the blast of fire, the flaming breath, and the great tempest, and fell with violence upon the multitude which was prepared to fight, and burned them up every one, so that upon a sudden of an innumerable multitude, nothing was to be perceived, but only dust and smell of smoke. When I saw this, I was afraid. So Esdras saw the angels, the chariots, beaming things with their laser beams, destroying, turning them straight into powder. Okay, turning them into powder, into dust, smoke. All right, just completely annihilating everything in their way, in their presence, bro. All right, that Yahushua gave the order for them to destroy. Okay, it says afterward, verse 12. Afterward saw I the same man come down from the mountain, and called unto him another peaceable multitude. And this peaceable multitude is going into Israelites. Okay, verse 13. And there came much people unto him. Now this multitude, this much people, okay, this is a separate multitude. Okay, this is a separate multitude. It says, and there came much people unto him, whereof some were glad, some were sorry, and some of them were bound, and other some brought of them were offered. Then was I sick through great fear, and I awaked and said. Okay, so this, the first, in verse 12, it says another peaceable multitude. That's going into only Israelites. But verse 13, and this much people, this is going into heathens, this is going into 2/3, and this is going into 1/3. Okay, it says, whereof some were glad, that's going into the elect. Some were sorry, that's going into 2/3, and some of them were bound, that's going into the heathens. Okay, and it says, and other some brought of them that were offered. Okay, so that other some is going into these heathens were brought of them that were offered. These heathens brought Israelites, okay, as an offering unto the Lord. Okay, Israelites, how can I put, Israelites that were around these other heathens. Okay, the Israelites that were in the land of these other heathens, the heathens brought these Israelites, okay, or brought these Israelites back. Okay, it says, then was I sick through great fear, and I awakened and said. Okay, so let me break that down clear, or more clear. Okay, the Israelites that were in these other nations, okay, those are the ones that are going to be brought back by these other nations. Okay, those are the ones that these other nations will bring as an offering to the Lord. Okay, and let's get that. And Isaiah 66:20, it says, and they shall bring all your brethren. It says, and they, talking about the heathens, shall bring all your brethren. All right, brethren going into the Israelites. Okay, so these heathens shall bring the Israelites for an offering unto the Lord out of all nations. Okay, because we've been scattered. Okay, so the ones that are scattered amongst these different nations, okay, that's in these different countries, these heathens are going to bring them back. It says unto the Lord. It says, out of all nations, upon horses and in chariots and in litters and upon mules and upon swift beasts, to my holy mountain Jerusalem, saith the Lord, as the children of Israel bring an offering into a clean vessel into the house of the Lord. Okay, so these heathens are going to bring Israel back to the Lord in Jerusalem, in the holy place. They're going to bring them back. But not only are they going to bring them back, they're going to bring them back in a glorious state. Okay? Israel is going to be brought back in a glorious state by these heathens, okay, as an offering. All right? They're not going to be brought back, all right, in the lowly state they in today, or we are in today. Nah, these heathens are going to like it says right here, upon horses, and in chariots, and in litters, and upon swift beasts. Let's get that in the NLT. They will bring the remnant of your people back from every nation. Okay, so these heathens are going to bring, all right, the Israelites that are scattered into these different nations to the Lord in Jerusalem. It says they will bring them to the holy mountain in Jerusalem as an offering to the Lord. They will ride on horses, in chariots and wagons, and on mules and camels, saith the Lord. Okay, and this reminds me of the scriptures how right now the servants are upon horses, but the princes are walking as servants upon the earth. But these heathens are going to bring, all right, Jake back in that glory, bro, on the horses. All right. Hey, and that's prophetic. Okay. But I got a slide, so Lord willing, I can do a part 2. Okay. We ended off on verse 13. Let's get one. No, verse 13 is good because that's the spirit. Because Apostle was just, I believe Apostle Gabar was just going into how that number 13 goes into rulership. Okay, a lot of these elites use that as one of their wicked numbers, that number 13. But the Apostle Gabar was going into how that number 13 really goes into rulership, and how it was 12 disciples and Yahushai. 12 plus 1, that's 13, going into rulership. So through the spirit, we're going to end off verse 13. Lord willing, somebody was edified. Okay, Lord willing, I do a follow-up to this video. All right, but until then, a shalom. Call halayim la, Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahushai, Bahasham, Chakwadash. Hey, till the next time.